One.
Good morning. This is Councilmember Monica Peters. I'm the chair of the Prosperity, Livability, and Safety Committee, and I'm calling to order the Thursday, December 4th meeting. Today we have President Mayor Pro Tem Brett Moore, myself, and Councilmember Patrick Harmon. And let's see, here we've got presentation of items. It's 2025-491, consideration of text amendment 25-04. City Council is requested to authorize planning and development staff to present development ordinance text amendment 25-04 at the January 2026 regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. And today we have Michael Harvey, our interim planning director, will present.
Good morning.
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 Thank you for the invitation to be here. Again, Michael Harvey, Interim Planning and Development Director. And I'd like to review with you very briefly this morning and then respond to any questions. A proposed text amendment shifting the responsibility for review and action on special use permit applications. As you all know now, the current procedure is that the City Council holds an evidentiary hearing and takes action on special use permit applications. There has been discussion on the possibility of reallocating that job duty, specifically to the Board of Adjustment, an advisory body that already conducts evidentiary hearings and is aware of the process and procedure requirements. So staff began the process of amending the current development ordinance to facilitate that change and reassign that responsibility. The goals and rationale for this change are evident, at least from my standpoint. Special uses are land uses that the city has already determined are reasonable and harmonious with the areas and districts in which they're located, but because of potential offsite impacts are required to go through a heightened permit review, meaning applicants have to have competent material evidence and provide sworn testimony during a previously advertised evidentiary hearing how they meet the specific standards of the code. The problem always comes into the fact that, from at least my standpoint, city councils or even county boards of commissioners in those instances where I serve as a planner that also have special use permits processed by the elected officials. The elected officials have already done all the hard work. They've made the determination whether or not a land use is or is not consistent and reasonable for the area. The standards that the applicant have to go through are the finishing, essentially, documentation and presentation of evidence that it will be in harmony with that area. So all the board would be doing is determining whether or not the applicants met their burden to have evidence proving the use can go where proposed. Because of the arduous and rigorous requirements and limitations imposed on council members, not having ex parte communication, not being able to meet with concerned citizens related to the project, it puts you all in a very awkward and, in my humble opinion, an unnecessary bind, because you don't have an opportunity when you are about to hear evidentiary matters to have any kind of communication with any party associated with the case or any individual that wants to talk about the case. Again, that's ex parte communication. You can't talk about the specifics. And bluntly, rather than continue to put you in that position, it only makes perfect sense to transfer the responsibility of that review to an advisory board that doesn't have any input in the political decision-making process. Its determination is solely whether or not the applicant has met his or her burden that the use can go where proposed. So the packet before you essentially does the following. It will move responsibility for the special use permit process to the Board of Adjustment. We are updating certain language to ensure consistency with state law. We are changing definitions to ensure adequate and proper reference to the process by which special use permits are reviewed and acted upon. And we are recommending that, obviously, the city endorse this to take away the responsibility of this item from the elected officials and put it with a board that is well-versed in handling the evidentiary matters, and then absolve you from having to not be responsive to a constituent concern or problem because you can't have ex parte communication about the project. We think that it'll be a much smoother process, and we think that it would alleviate some of the frustration I'm sure that you and your constituents feel because they can't have a dialogue with you about their concerns. And with that, I'm ready to answer any questions you have or walk through any specifics of this proposal to your satisfaction.
Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Michael, how many, typically, I know it varies, special use permits happen in a year? I know it varies. We've
On
had several
average,
this year, but
right, and I'll rely on Megan more because she's been here longer, but in the 3 or so years I've been here, you've only reviewed 1 to 2 a year, if that. There's not many, but bluntly, because of how the process is designed, it makes more sense to allow an advisory board to review and process this requirement and take some of the unnecessary criticism off the elected officials, who are often accused of not being responsive when you can't be.
right. I'm going to get criticized anyway, though. So.
You're going to get criticized anyway, but I think
But
that
other
it's fair to
things.
say that we don't need you to be criticized on items where you're following the letter and spirit and intent of the law.
Right.
Now, all advertising, all outreach, everything that is currently required will still happen. You're just not going to see the request.
Right. And if it gets appealed, it does not come to council, correct? It goes
No,
to
the appeal
court.
goes right to Superior Court.
Right.
Because it would be a decision of the Board of Adjustment, sir. And bluntly, that's a cleaner process, in my humble opinion. You're not the only community I've dealt with in my 30-plus year career where elected officials have handled evidentiary hearing matters. And I have always recommended it be transferred, not because you're not capable, not because you're not experts at what you do, but I think it puts you as the elected officials in an unnecessary bind.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, Mr. Harvey, our history here in High Point, can you share that for the record? We changed this over a few years back, correct?
I believe
where
you
it
changed
came-
it in 2017, yes, sir.
And prior to that, we had Board of Adjustment handle those?
I believe that's correct, but I'm going to rely on individuals that have been here a little bit longer than I have, but I believe you are 100% correct.
That's my recollection
Yes,
from
sir.
when I was here earlier. And I understand the intent why we did it, but these cases, though they come rarely, when they come, they're highly visible and they're highly scrutinized.
Yes, sir.
I've worked on a couple under both systems, and it's like anything else, there's probably no perfect system. But I just thought for the record that might want to be in there that we have made this change before, so if it goes through with the will of council to go back to the Board of Adjustments, we're not going into new territory, and any future council could change it going forward.
Correct, and that's obviously a council-to-council decision. And I will just say this, that my recommendation would always be that it stays with the Board of Adjustment, because I think that the city council's, as I already articulated to you, has already done its diligence in terms of determining what is and isn't acceptable and what standards a special use would have to be held to. It's up to a third party that is not involved necessarily. They're just there to review the merits of a case and make a determination based on the evidence before them. So you've already done the hard work from my standpoint. Let your advisory board that has served you well do the heavy lifting for you, because that's why they're there.
Thank you, and I think it also bears note that as councils do change, it's important that elected officials realize the importance that they need to place on those that they nominate to fill these positions on boards like that.
Correct, sir.
Mayor Pro Tem Moore, and I'll just add that, and I think we've shared this before, that the original authorizing legislation of the General Assembly over a century ago had these decisions before bodies like the Board of Adjustment. So it is certainly, it has changed here within the city of High Point, and throughout the state it's handled different ways, but a lot of places it's handled with an advisory board that hears evidentiary hearings, and I think that was probably the original intent of the General Assembly, since that's the first place it was assigned to.
Well, if there's anything I've learned about human nature, is that human beings will change something just for the sake of changing it.
Well, I have a comment. I just wanted to say, thank you for recognizing that. I mean, as a elected official, you know, we're elected to listen to the people. And when in this situation, we can't listen to the people. So I'm glad that you recognize that. And then in speaking about listening to the public, what we're tasked to do is let it go to Planning and Zoning Commission. And then there'll be a public hearing, and so that we can hear what the people actually want. So that being said, I'm going to make a motion that we send this to Planning and Zoning in the January 2026 meeting. That's the motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nope. Okay, so that motion passes. Thank you so much, Mr.
It's
Harvey.
been my pleasure. Thank you all very much.
Yeah. Okay, well, that was the only item on the agenda. Is there anything else anybody wants to?
There's the Christmas tree lighting on Washington Street, 4:30 to 5:30 today.
Oh, today, okay, good, thank you, thank you.
Well, we also have the putting on the grits and holiday stroll, and it's a big event, fun time. Please, everybody come out and participate.
Okay,
That'll be on Saturday morning, starting at 8, and then there's a slew of college football games starting at about 3.
and the Sam Hawley race is also Saturday morning. It's to raise money to cure brain cancer. So anyway, all right, well, if that's anything else, all right, this meeting's adjourned.